What is the ideal way of life? Asked Vasishtha. In the early hours of the morning, the four Ayodhyan princes sat facing their guru, having just completed the Guru Stotram. Well, prompted Vasishtha, having been met with silence. He looked at Lakshman, expecting him to take the first shot. However, to Vasishtha's surprise, the boy sat tense, barely able to conceal his hostility. Is there a problem, Paurav? Inquired Vasishtha. Lakshman cast an accusatory glance at Ram, then stared at the ground. No, Guruji, there is no problem. Do you want to attempt an answer? I don't know the answer, Guruji. Vasishtha frowned. Ignorance had never deterred Lakshman from attempting a response before. He spoke to Bharat. Vasu, can you try an answer? An ideal way of life, Guruji, said Bharat, is one where everyone is healthy, wealthy, happy, and working in consonance with his purpose in life. And how does a society achieve this? It's probably impossible, but if it were possible at all, it would only be through freedom. Allow people the freedom to forge their own path, they will find their way. But will freedom help each person realize his dreams? What if one person's dream is in conflict with that of another's? Bharat gave that question some careful thought before replying. You are right. A strong man's effort will always overwhelm that of a weak man. So the government has to ensure that it protects the weak. We cannot allow the strong to keep winning. It would create discontent among the masses. Why, Dada? Asked Shatrughan. I would say, allow the strong to win. Will that not be better for the society as a whole? But isn't that the law of the jungle? Asked Vasishtha. The weak would die out. If you call it the law of the jungle, then I say that this is the law of nature, Guruji, said Shatrughan. Who are we to judge nature? If the weakest deer are not killed by tigers, the population of deer will explode. They will eat prodigious amounts of greens and the jungle itself may die out. In the long run, it is better for the jungle if only the strong survive. It is nature's way of maintaining balance. The government should not interfere with this natural process. It should merely establish systems that ensure the protection of the weak, giving them a fair chance at survival. Beyond that, it must get out of the way and let society find its own path. It's not the government's job to ensure that all achieve their dreams. Then why even bother with the government? It's needed for a few essentials that individuals cannot provide. An army to protect the borders from external attack, a system of basic education for all. One of the things that differentiates us from animals is that we do not kill our weak. But if the government interferes to such an extent that the weak thrive and the strong are oppressed, society itself will collapse over time. A society should not forget that it thrives on the ideas and performance of the talented among its citizens. If you compromise the prospects of the strong and lean too much towards the interests of the weak, then your society itself goes into decline. Vasishtha smiled. You have carefully studied the reasons for the decline of India under the successors of Emperor Bharat, haven't you? Shatrughan nodded. Bharat was a legendary Chandravanshi emperor who lived thousands of years ago. He was one of the greatest rulers since the great Indra of the Devas. He brought all of India under his rule, and his government had been the most compassionate and nurturing of all times. Why then did Bharat's successors not change their ways when they could see that it wasn't working anymore? Asked Vasishtha. I don't know, said Shatrughan. It was because the philosophy that guided Emperor Bharat's empire was itself a reaction to an equally successful but racially different one which determined how society was organized earlier. Emperor Bharat's empire could be described as the apogee of the feminine way of life, of freedom, passion, and beauty. At its best, it is compassionate, creative, and especially nurturing towards the weak. But as feminine civilizations decline, they tend to become corrupt and decadent. Guruji, said Ram, are you saying there is another way of life, the masculine way? Yes, the masculine way of life is defined by truth, duty, and honor. At its peak, masculine civilizations are efficient, just, and egalitarian. But as they decline, they become fanatical, rigid, and especially harsh towards the weak. So, when feminine civilizations decline, the masculine way is the answer, said Ram. And as masculine civilizations decline, the feminine way should take over. Yes, said the teacher. Life is cyclical. Can it be safely said that today's India is a feminine nation in decline? Asked Bharat. Vasishtha looked at Bharat. Actually, India is a confused nation today. It does not understand its nature, which seems to be a hodgepodge of the masculine and feminine way. But if you force me to choose, then I would state that at this point in time, we are feminine culture in decline. Then the question is it time to move towards a masculine way of life or a revived feminine culture? Argued Bharat. I'm not sure India can live without freedom. We are a nation of rebels. We argue and fight about everything. We can only succeed by walking down the path of femininity, of freedom. The masculine way may work for a short span of time, but it cannot last. We are simply not obedient enough to follow the masculine way for too long. So it seems today, said Vasishtha. But it wasn't always so. There was a time when the masculine way of life characterized India. Bharat was silenced into contemplation, but Ram was intrigued. Guruji, you said that the feminine way of life established by Emperor Bharat was unable to change even when it needed to, because it was a reaction to the ills that an earlier masculine culture had degenerated into. Possibly, to them, the earlier way of life was stamped as evil. You're right, Sudas, said Vasishtha, using Ram's Gurukul name. Can you tell us about this earlier masculine way of life? What was this empire like? Asked Ram. Could we find answers in it to our present day ills? It was an empire that arose many millennia ago and conquered practically all of India with stunning swiftness. It had a radically different way of life, and at its peak, it scaled the heights of greatness. Who were these people? Their foundations were laid right here, where we are. It was so long ago that most have forgotten the significance of this ashram. Here? Yes, it was here that the progenitors of that empire received their education from their great guru. He taught them the essentials of an enlightened masculine way of life. This was his ashram. Who was this great sage? Asked Ram in awe. Vasishtha took a deep breath. He knew that the answer would evoke shock. The name of that ancient Guru Rishi was feared today, so much so that it was not even uttered aloud, ever. Keeping his eyes fixed on Ram, he answered, Maharishi Shukracharya. Bharat, Lakshman and Shatrughan froze. Shukracharya was the guru of the Asuras, and the Asuras were demonic fanatics who had controlled almost the entire Indian landmass thousands of years ago. They were finally defeated by the Devas, respected today as gods, in brutal battles fought over a protracted period of time. Although The Asura Empire was eventually destroyed. The wars took a heavy toll on India. Millions died, and rebuilding civilization took a very long time. Indra, the leader of the Devas, ensured the expulsion of the Asuras from India. Shukracharya's name was reduced to mud, his memory violated by righteous indignation and irrational fear. The students were too stunned to react. Ram's eyes, though, conveyed curiosity, unlike the others.